Hello there, you're welcome to the channel. Now, Tyrique George wants to leave Chelsea. That's what Fabrizio Romano has said, and I want to know your personal opinions on that. And then, of course, as usual, we've got people that say things that make you think. Ask yourself, do they have a brain? Of course, they have a brain, but there are these people who have created this niche for themselves where it is I will back whatever the club does, whatever comes up from the club. If the club says we are burning down Stamford Bridge, there will people will say, yeah, they're right. If the club says, you're selling off the academy, you see people, folks who come up to say, yeah, they're right. Not because they truly believe it, but because I think in this age of whatever, thing you can say that sounds crazy, gets you engagement, and that's fine. So people come up to say whatever mad thing they want to say. So for me, I don't really like speaking with those people like that. Not because I think my opinion is better than their opinion, but I just think that just means you have zero nuance. And when you don't have nuance as a fan or anywhere you find yourself in life, then it just makes things a whole lot boring. Doesn't make any sense to me. So Tyrique George leaving, or rather wants to leave, according to Fabrizio Romano. So um, he said it exclusive. Tyrique George wants to leave Chelsea this month with reduced game time, and Bundesliga clubs keen on signing him. Permanent move also possible. Chelsea preferred to keep George, but accept his desire for regular football. RB Leipzig and Blackback among clubs keen. Now, for me, this is where I have an issue with the whole Garnacho thing. That we have an issue with it because Garnacho is not like a world beater. Isn't He's not someone that comes in and absolutely changes your life as a Chelsea fan, changes your life as a coach of Chelsea, changes the way Chelsea play and the way Chelsea attacks. He doesn't come in guaranteeing you 10, 15 goals, 15 assists, and maybe 10 goals. He doesn't come in with those guarantees. He's someone that still comes in and has to be developed, has to be harnessed, and then you probably would have to give him a year off, to develop, get used to how Chelsea play, and how Maresca wants his team to play. So he's not coming in as a world beater. He's coming in with his own baggage as well from Manchester United. So I don't get why you're sacrificing Tyrique George on the altar of a Garnacho. It makes zero sense to me. Absolutely no sense. Now, Tyrique George, he's shown at all levels. Academy level, he's shown. Then the question you ask of academy players is, okay, yes, you've shown at academy level. We're now promoting you to the first team. Can you show us? Can you still shine? Can you still show us those things that you showed when you were playing the academy? It's coming, and the moment it's coming, he's shown himself. The occasion hasn't been too big for him. He scored, that goal for against Fulham, and then he scored in the Conference League, UEFA Conference League, a couple of goals. Club World Cup he scored. So he's shown that at every level he's matching up to every challenge put in front of him. Now, people might say, "Oh, leave the club." People say, "I just strain, get out from the club. Don't let the door hit you, hit your head or whatever." But the question is, looking at the player, he's matched every level, and on the flip side of it, look at the player that has been brought in. You say, "Oh, be patient." It's one thing to be patient when you have Gittins and you're the number 2 guy. It's one thing when you have that number 1 guy in Bino Gittins and then you're number 2. Fine, that's fair play. That's fair play. But when you have a Gittins, then you now have a Garnacho, and I assure you, there's no even playing field when you have someone you signed for £30 million as opposed to someone that's just come through the academy that you can sell for £1 million, and that's pure profit. So if you sell Tyrique George right now for £1 million, that's pure profit. So you make immediately that £1 million goes into your books. So even if you sell him for £5 million, that's pure profit. So a Garnacho definitely will start ahead of Tyrique George. So you can see from his point of view why he wants to leave. Because we've never heard of this news at the start of the transfer window. If it was just someone that just wanted to leave for the sake of leaving, probably he would have left when Gittins was signed. But they signed Gittins, and now you're bringing Garnacho. And look at Garnacho, and I say, apart from having that little bit more Premier League experience, I don't see how much better he is than Tyrique George. I don't quite see it. I don't see it. A lot of people will say, "Oh, academy." I'm not a Cobamite. I'm not one of those people that feels like every academy player must play for the first team. But when you see those who are good enough, they should play for the first team. And then if you don't want them to play for the first team, if you want to replace them with someone, then that person should be head and shoulders above them. That person you're signing in from a PSG, PSV, whichever club you're signing that player from, that player should be head and shoulders above the academy player. That's if you want to be cold, business-like. We're getting a better performer, so it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you've been with the club since you were 8. We're getting someone who's going to produce better than you. Now, if that was the case, then okay, sad to see an academy player leave, but we're getting someone who's going to be who's going to produce top level football for us, going to give us assists, going to give us goals. But you go on and then you look at Garnacho, he just isn't. He just isn't that guy. He just isn't that guy. So, like for me, I'd said it before, I probably would have to go on loan with Garnacho coming. I said it prior to this. He wants to leave. Hafiz says he wants to leave. That's fair play. Fair play. He wants to leave. The question is, why does he want to leave? Hafiz Yusuf says he wants to leave. Why does he want to leave? That's the question. Has he just woken up and said, "Oh yeah, no, everything is set up right for me to play. I have to compete with Bino Gittins, but I don't want to compete with Bino Gittins, so I'm leaving." The question is, why does he want to leave? In my neck of the woods where I come from, there's a saying: you don't beat the child and expect the child not to cry. You don't do something that would affect the development of a player and you expect them to say, "Oh, well, you know what? You can sign 4 more wingers here. I'm going to still stick with it." No. Okay. On the right, you've got Estevão William and you've got Pedro Neto. Beautiful. On the left, you've got Gittins and Tyrique George. I think that should be fine. But when you bring a Garnacho in the building, automatically you're telling him that you are going to be third on the list of left wingers. And even if you say you have a lot of game time, what kind of quality of game time would he have? What quality of game time would he have? So for me, I see why he wants to leave. But for me, if I'm Chelsea, what I'll do is, you're tied to a contract. I'm not going to sell you. I'll send you out on loan to RB Leipzig, maybe as part of the deal for Xavi Simons, or I send you out on loan to a Dortmund. You go there and you play, and you also up your value. So it's a two-way street. You go there, you impress, and we end of the 2025-2026 season, we bring you back in, and then you can compete. Or your value could be so high, we could then sell you off, and then you could also get a better deal for yourself where you're negotiating contracts with a new club. That's what I would do if I'm Chelsea. I wouldn't sell him. People are going hard on these things where, the club wouldn't keep anyone. Enzo Maresca doesn't go to keep anyone that doesn't want to stay. And once you say you want to leave, let you go. For me, I don't get all the sort of, we'll believe the manager, whatever he says, we'll kneel down and worship the manager. I never am that sort of person. Xavi coming, he'll be last on. Xavi is a 10. We're misprofiling Xavi again. Xavi Simons is not a winger. He's not. He's not a winger. This is how players will come in, will misprofile them. If a coach plays them out of position and then they struggle, we say, "Oh, this player is not good enough." The same thing with João Felix. João Felix was never a winger. Same thing, Xavi is not a winger. He's a 10. I know we have Palmer in the 10 role, so nobody should ever come close. Nobody should even come off for 20 minutes for Palmer. Nah. Tactically, you could play in such a way you have 3 10s behind a striker, fine. But Xavi is a 10. And then even if Maresca goes on to say, I want to play Xavi out wide, I think that's the wrong move. But that goes on to strengthen the point that he's not going to see much game time. And for me, I think that's really sad. During the Abramovich era, academy players used to be benched, to be sold. But when you saw the player that was coming instead of them, that was being bought instead of them, then was a different discussion. Now that's one of the points I'm making. Academy players, it's always good to have one or two of them breaking through. Not all of them. Achopong, your Tyrique George, it's always good to have a couple of them coming through. And especially when they prove to you that they can play at that level. He's done it at the academy. He's now doing it in the league in the moments he's having. Now you want to further limit his game time by signing Garnacho. I have no problem with Xavi because I think Xavi is a 10. Xavi is a 10. He's someone that's going to either play with Palmer or compete with Palmer for that 10 role. That's it. And then maybe some games where Enzo Maresca wants to do some tactical switches and tweaks, then he may play him, out on that left-hand side, but he'll always come central and you have the fullbacks overlapping. But if you want an actual winger, the person that's going to threaten Tyrique George's position is Garnacho. That's it. So fair play is fair play. If he ends up leaving, I wish him all the best. If the club is able to find a solution for him, that would be fine as well. But I must say this, I don't get this. I just don't get why is Garnacho the person? Why is Garnacho the person that's going to take his spot? It doesn't sit right to me. How about you get someone who's actually, you look at him and you say, oh, sad to see Tyrique George go, but this guy is just special, man. He's just special. Maybe if you get Leao coming in, say, oh, wow, okay. Gittins, Leao, Tyrique George, academy player, I would love to have you here, but come on, Leao. But for me, Garnacho is not a person where you look at and say you're letting go of a proper asset. So, we'll come back to that later on in the video. And now I want to talk about Garnacho, the man I've been mentioning throughout this video started. So he wants to join Chelsea. He's liking stuff on Instagram, on IG. Like the post where Fabrizio Romano said the deal for him and Xavi are separate deals, and Chelsea are looking to go for both if possible. Like that, and people are going into a frenzy. So for me, Garnacho coming in, fine, okay. I'm not superly impressed about his coming in. I must say that because he played for Manchester United. That's not the point. Each time you watch Garnacho, have you seen him to say this guy is a complete article? He's a player that will come in and need developmental time again. You'll need time to develop. You'll need time to come good. That's what it's about the matter. Yes, he played in Premier League. People say, "Oh, come to Chelsea, you will shine." Chelsea is not a rehabilitation center. It's not a hospital. Where you have broken limbs, you come to Chelsea, and then you meet an orthopedic surgeon to get your bone working again, or you meet a podiatrist, to work on your overgrown bones in your knees. No, it's for people. You're coming to a football club. You want to win. You want people that are ready to come in now and help you win. And for me, like I always say, if a player once a player signs for Chelsea, I always support the player. I'm not one of those people that will say, because this player is not a player I wanted, so I'm not going to support him if he comes here. I want him to fail. If that player fails, that means to some extent Chelsea would have failed. So fair play if he gets signed. So let's see how that all shake down with Alejandro Garnacho. So let me ask everyone who's watching the stream, Garnacho, is he a player that you want? Is he a player that you like? Do you think he can be a difference maker, for the club? Let me know in the chat what you think about Alejandro Garnacho, from the Chelsea. And possibly Chelsea are looking to make it an offer of £30 million for him. later on in the transfer window. So, thoughts and opinions on that one. And for me, not super keen on Garnacho. Let's see how it shakes out with respect to him. And then, of course, we have Xavi Simons doing what he's doing, taking everything that relates to RB Leipzig from his IG page, IG profile, and the reports are he's told RB Leipzig that he wants to leave the club. He wants to join Chelsea. Fair play, fair play. You want to join Chelsea, you're making this effort, fair play. Now it's all on Chelsea. You don't want to leave the player hanging. He says he wants to join Chelsea, let him join Chelsea. Now, for me, where does he fit in? Because just like I said earlier in the video, we've got this sort of misprofiling, at least in my opinion anyway. I don't think Xavi Simons is a winger. He's not. Yeah, he's got pace. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily make him a winger. So I think that's how we've misprofiled a lot of players. Garnacho is business, in my opinion. Well, that's fair play. Business, you sign him, and maybe you're thinking of flipping him for maybe sign 30 million. You're hoping you sell him for 40 million if you can get some value. So, but for me, even that business type of thing, I think you make more bank from an academy player. I think if you get a Tyrique George that's on the fringes, you've paid nothing for him, mind you, and he's on very low contract. He ends very low anyway, comparatively to his teammates. And then he plays 2-3 years at the club. If he ends up going for 30, 40, 50, which he can go for in the next 2 to 3 years, you earn more, and that becomes pure profit to you. So even if you're looking at it from the standpoint of pure cold-hearted capitalist business mindset, it makes more sense to keep a Tyrique George in the team as opposed to a Garnacho. But the Garnacho business say Nico will stay, Pedro can play 10, João Pedro can play 10. We have all positions stacked. Nico will stay. João Pedro. I don't know where Hafiz. I respect your opinion, respect your comments, but I wanted to ask, where do you get this thing of João Pedro playing as a 10? I want to get that because I looked at him at Brighton. He's a mobile forward. He's someone that can move about. He's a 9, but he can pick his spots in different parts of the pitch. Drop deep, link up with your 10. I don't see him as a 10. I just don't. Because there's a lot that goes into being a 10. I don't see him as a 10. He is a striker. Right now, he's a striker who can be mobile. Just like Thierry Henry was a striker. He always coming from the left, always, but he was never a winger. He would always, with pace, coming from the left, cutting into the center or running towards the 18, and then take strikes and goal, create chances. That didn't make him a winger. The same thing I'm looking at with João Pedro. People are saying he's a 10. I don't think he's a 10. I just don't think João Pedro is a 10. I think he's more of a 9, but he's just a different profile to Liam Delap. Liam Delap is more of, with all due respect to him, he's more of a battering ram, direct runner, run at you with pace and power through the middle. And it's good for a team to have, to have strikers with different profiles that can do different things. And then maybe you can play 4-4-2 where you have João Pedro dropping off of Liam Delap and combining with, let's say, your Cole Palmer. But I don't think it's a 10. Nico Jackson probably would stay, although we're hearing that Aston Villa are interested in him, especially if Manchester United goes on to sign Oli Watkins, then the doors will be open to Nicolas Jackson to head to Aston Villa. And I think that's what Unai Emery may want to do if Oli Watkins is sold. So, and like I've even said, that left wing option is not even a crazy place where you crazily need a replacement. I looked at it. You've got Gitten signed in there. Okay, probably he'll be the number one guy. And then of course you've got Tyrique George, who I think should be at the club. You've got Nico Jackson, who when I look at Nico Jackson, I just think he's being betrayed by being played as a striker. I look at him, there are certain fundamentals that you need as a striker that Nicholas Jackson doesn't just have. And at 23 going on 24, I don't think he will ever have those fundamentals. His awareness in the box is non-existent. The way he shapes his body to shoot is non-existent. That instinct that you need as a striker, you see strikers score 10 tap-ins. Instinct. Make the runs behind the defender. Instinct. Nico Jackson is best when he's bearing down on goal, running towards goal, through pass. And that's why I think he will be so excellent on the left wing. That's just my opinion. So when you have Nico Jackson, you have Tyrique George. I just think, and then in addition to Gittins, I just think that gives you a perfect solution for the left side. And with the fact that Nico Jackson has played centrally in a couple of course, the past 2 seasons he has played as a striker, he would be able to combine with João Pedro if he plays as a left winger. And I'm sure that's part of what what Tyrique George is looking at as well. Look at and say, okay, Gittins is coming, number one guy. Then you've got Nico Jackson that can play there. Okay. Then now you're having a Garnacho on top of that. Then you can say, okay, I have to go. People who say, oh, this, what we forget is we as fans, we watch the football, we get excited, we're passionate about it, but we seem to forget that this is the career of these players. This is a career here. And a player sitting on the bench, his brand dies. When a player sits on the bench, his branding dies, his valuation dies. So you kind of get why he would want to go. Hafiz says you can't do Palmer at right, Nico, Delap, and Pedro. Drag defense for Palmer, Xavi, half space, our fullback can play wide. I'm sure. Well, Enzo Maresca, fair play, Hafiz. Get your point. Can be flexible and all that. For me, the reservation I have with pushing players up and down, up around is especially like one of the issues I've had with Enzo Maresca is this. You have right now, you've got Andre Santos, you've got Caicedo, you've got Esugo, you've got Enzo Fernandez. Unless Lugochukwu forget about that, and probably is going to get sold. Probably is going to get loaned out or even sold. So you start in that middle. Esugo, Caicedo, Enzo, Andre Santos. But for some reason, and I'm sure we'll see this season, and we saw it last season, you're going to see either a Gusto or a Reece James not inverting, just living in that midfield like a defensive midfielder. For me, I don't see the benefit of playing players out of position, especially when you've been gifted with a rich squad, a squad where you have like 2-3 players in every position. So I don't understand why you want to have, for instance, Gusto playing in the middle. In the final, we saw what Gusto could do in the Club World Cup final. So that Gusto, you let him overlap, you let him go up and down that right side. He is an absolute menace. Absolutely, he is. But when you tuck him up in midfield, he's going to struggle. And a lot of people say, oh, let him flop, sell him. I'm like, watch the game. How many of us, if you're a project manager, for instance, and then you're hired, and your line manager says, okay, and we want you to be the software engineer. Like, why you want him to do that? And then when you struggle at doing the job as a software engineer, then they blame you. You got that job wrong. Why? It wouldn't make sense to you, right? It wouldn't. Same thing in this situation. Gusto has trained as a right back all his life. Reece James, same thing all his life. Now, I'm not saying Rich James can't come in there, some tactical switch, tweak for one particular game, But when you take Rich James and smash him into that midfield and leave him there, for me, I think it's a bit too much. It's a bit too much, in my opinion, because you know what Rich James' superpower is: 1v1 defending, going up and down, and his super precise crosses. These three elements, that's what makes Rich James Rich James. So when you tie him into the midfield, you take those things away from him. And then it makes it worse when you already have four people that are naturally suited to play that DM role. You have four already. It's not like one of those things where you have, two, then the club didn't really back the manager, they have not spent money to sign anybody. So as a manager, you have to make do with what you have. You tweak, Rich James, please do a job for us in here. Like under Jose Mourinho, sometimes, you have a centre back out injured with no centre back options. Then you say, Michael Essien, can you do a job for us? Sometimes you could have Brother injured, no other right back cover. Say, okay, Essien, Michael, can you do a job for us? So those sort of things. But right now you've got four people that have been training all your life to play in that central midfield role. For me, I don't get it why you play Caicedo. Of course, Caicedo must start. Yeah, you play Caicedo and then you say, "Oh no, I'm going to play Gusto. I'm going to play Rich James in the midfield." It doesn't make any sense to me, especially on a regular game to game basis. If it's for one or two games where you want to have some tactical switch, then fair play. Fair play. Xavi Simons, for me, like I said, Xavi Simons is a 10. He is a 10. Let's not misprofile him. We did it with João Felix under Frank Lampard. Played him as João Felix as a winger, struggled. Well, he's gone, so we're not talking about João Felix anymore. Let's not do the same thing with Xavi Simons. I know we have a section of the Chelsea fan base that feel like the only way to support the club is whatever Enzo Maresca says, whatever he does. If he plays Robert Sanchez as the left winger, yes, he's correct. No, it's not correct. You have your eyes. You've been watching football for a long time. At least you know certain things that are not right. So when you have these people in that can play that position, their natural position, play them there. Play your best players in their best position, and things would be different. That's just the way I look at it. So but fair play. Let's see how that all shakes down. But Xavi Simons, like I said, he should be that 10. He and Cole Palmer can share the role in terms of course, Cole Palmer will play majority of the games in the middle. Yeah, he can play there. Of course, that's he's a 10. But sometimes he's injured. Sometimes he may be suspended. Sometimes he could be tired in a game. All those are truths. People may not want to accept it. People may want to say, "Oh no, don't ever talk about Cole Palmer." No. I'm not saying Cole Palmer should not start. I'm not saying he's not the main guy. I'm not saying he's not the 10 for Chelsea. Of course he is. But this is Chelsea Football Club we're talking about. Even Eden Hazard. I know some people want to tell me that Cole Palmer is better than Eden Hazard. Even Eden Hazard will play 60, 65 minutes, 70 minutes, he will come off. Player will come off from the bench and take his spot. He done the job. And that is how you preserve Cole Palmer. Because if you keep him playing every game 90 minutes, 90 plus minutes, every game, 90, 95 minutes, 96 minutes, every game, Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, League Cup, then are we going to be shocked if towards the end of the season it's completely broken? No, so it's not like I don't rate Cole Palmer. Of course I rate Cole Palmer. He is the number one guy. For every position, I think you should have at least two players. Right back, good, Rhys James and Gusto. Left back, Cucurella and Hato. Central defense, you've got Colwill, you've got Tosin, you've got Chalobah. Right now, you've got Badiashile and Disasi. Though I think Badiashile and Disasi should leave, but that's for the club to decide. Midfield, you start with 4. In that central midfield area, you've got Enzo, you got Caicedo, you got Esugo, you got Andre Santos. So start those 4 players, start in there. So fair play. So for the 10 role as well, you can't just say, yeah, Cole Palmer is our most important player, so he should be the only 10 in the entire squad. It doesn't work like that. If you like Cole Palmer, if you love him, you like him, you're a Chelsea fan, like I am, you want him to be in the team to, to produce at the top level, then you want someone to compete with him, to make him always know there's someone behind him. Also, you want someone to take the pressure off him. Either they both play together sometimes when the opposition is proving too stubborn to break down, you can play both of them. Maybe take out one defensive midfielder, one central midfielder. Like if you started the game with Enzo and Caicedo, and the team and you're playing against a Brentford, 65 minutes gone, 1-1 or 0-0 or 2 that you're losing 2-1, you could say, okay, Enzo come out, Xavi go in, pair up with Palmer, 2 10s behind the striker, and then that opens things up for you. So like each time you mention any player close to Palmer, who is it? No, that's not the point. Every position on the pitch, you must have like 2 players at least for that position. To have 2 players at least for that position. So, toss opinions on all that. So far, so good. Broja, talked about him. Broja is gone. Some reports say it could be higher than £25 million off the Burnley. To fair play, he's another player that should have worked out at Chelsea if things went differently, but injuries just robbed him of game time. And as well, Potter as well. Graham Potter is somebody you have to hold accountable. In those times when we were struggling for a striker, he didn't even think about playing him. But so fair play, he's gone. Xavi Simons, let's see what he's doing. He's really pushing hard. Xavi Simons is really pushing hard to get his move to Chelsea. He's really, really pushing hard. Let's see. Hopefully, everything turns out right in Chelsea's favor. Because overall, everything we want is for Chelsea to actually win. Actually win and go far. So let me just ask this question. So what would be success for you as a Chelsea fan? What would you, rank as success? Is it finishing top 4 again? Is it competing for the league title? Is it going very far in the Champions League? What would you class as success? Chelsea. For me right now, the way I'm looking at it, the way the team has been set up, though I like João Pedro, I like Liam Delap, obviously, but since they're not fully proven strikers, I would say top 4 finish, maybe finish 3rd, be the best of the rest in the league. As you beat every team below 3rd, you should have a winning record against them. Every team below 3rd, you should have a winning record. So either you win or you draw. You win one of the games, you draw the other game, or you win all the games against those teams, and then you go as far as the Champions League as possible, and maybe you win the cup. Yeah, win the cup. I'm a Chelsea fan. I always want to compete. I would love to say win the league. I would love to say win the league title. But right now, I think certain areas, even if we've signed players in them, I don't really think they're good enough yet. Maybe they will need 1 season more to come good, where you can absolutely say, yeah, going into the season, we can actually compete. So João Pedro, can he give you 30 goals a season? Possibly, let's see. But I think maybe he can just hit 18, 19, maybe 20 if he pushes it in all competitions. So I think finishing in that 3rd spot and winning a domestic cup, that would be success for me this season, and then next season hopefully compete. So let me know those opinions in the chat. What would you see as success for Chelsea? And then speaking about players who have completed medicals that should be announced soon, so one of them, of course, is Gerald Hato. Where do you see him fitting in? First off, what do you make of his signing? What do you make of Gerald Hattle's signing? For me, first off, what I'll say is I think it's a signing that should be made. That is a welcome signing, in my opinion. I think, just like I said, we need 2 players for each position. Yes, he comes in as that second left back. But some people are trying to say centre back. If we play 3 at the back, yes, he can fit in. He can play that left-sided centre back. But to be an actual dominant central centre back, I think that would be, a bit of a challenge. So overall, I'll say I'm happy with the fact that he's been signed as I've been signed completely medical, and hopefully he'll be announced pretty soon. So happy days with that one. But let me know, what do you think about Gerald Hattle's signing? So if you were to pick your 11, your 11, your own starting 11 for Chelsea going into next season, who would you pick? Who would you pick? Who would be in that starting 11 for you? So who would you be going with? Who would your goalkeeper be? I think for the goalkeeper side of things, I think we are stuck there. We absolutely stuck there because someone like me, I was hoping Mike Penders would have been the guy, but for whatever reason, it's not going to be that one. He's off to Strasbourg, so that's something we just have to cope with, I think. So who would be your starting 11? The league to start now. Who would you go with? Who will be in starting 11? So goalkeepers, I think we'll stop with Robert Sanchez. There's no going away from that. And then probably at left back, you would go with Cucurella, I think. And then right now at right back for me, I'll still go with Reece James. So I'll still go with Reece James. And then centre back positions for me, I know a lot of people don't rate Tosin for whatever reason, but I think Tosin paired up with Colwill right now, as things stand, that's our best, centre back pairing. And of course, in midfield, you have to start with Caicedo. Caicedo has to start. Caicedo has to start in midfield. And then who else would you go with? I would have liked Etsugo, but I know Enzo Fernandez is the next one that would start. He is one of those undroppables right now. Alongside Cole Palmer, and then of course Denro. You have Palmer. Cole Palmer would start. That's fair play. He's earned it of what he's done in the past 2 seasons. And then left wing for now, we'll go with Gittins. And then the left wing, right wing rather. Though we have Estevao Willian, I think for now Pedro Neto should be the one to start there. And then the striking position, I know Liam Delap, Nico Jackson, and all that, we have them there. But I'll go with, I think João Pedro is the guy right now. João Pedro is the guy right now that I think I will be going with. So let me know what your starting lineup would be for Chelsea if you had to choose based on the players that we have now. So just share what I was busy typing away yet. So this is starting lineup I will go with come the start of the season. That is if the transfer window ends like this, or rather that even if the transfer window ends with Xavi Simons signed and Garnacho signed, this have to be my starting lineup. Because for one, Philip Jorgensen hasn't really proved himself. All the opportunities he's had, he's not really taking it, not really grabbed it by the scruff of the neck. He's good with the ball at his feet, but nah, not really that good doing what the goalkeeper's primary function is meant to be. Then of course, Tosin, Colwill for me, I think that's the best centre back pairing that we have at Chelsea right now. The minute some people may not like it, but I think that's true. Because Chalobah can give you moments, yeah, can give you moments where he does some spectacular things at the back, but I don't think he's consistent. When you talk about being consistent, game in, game out, I think Tosin and Colwill is beginning to step into that consistent, like I say, bag, that consistent phase where you're consistent. Cucurella, of course, he's going to invest somewhere in here at some point during games. But for me, he starts at left back. And then Caicedo and Enzo should play there. I would like to see Enzo more have that deep line playmaker role more, as opposed to being someone that is forced to play this 8 role. When the game flows through him from Sanchez, Tosin, and then Sanchez, Colwill, and flows through Caicedo, then Enzo, it makes more sense to me. So he can use his vision, use his passing range, get the ball to Neto, get the ball to Gittins, let the ball go to Palmer, and then Palmer does his magic. Let the ball go to João Pedro as well. Sometimes I know definitely you see João Pedro dropping into midfield sometimes to support Go Palmer, but he's a mobile striker. I don't quite see him as that 10. People like to want to refer him as. So this is my own starting lineup. Right now, season ends. So what would your sort of starting lineup be? Who would you go for? What do you think about this starting lineup? Anyway. So for this one, I'll be going with. And there are talks of Chelsea being linked to what's his name now? Antonio Silva, the centre back at Benfica. Then maybe if he comes in, maybe. But I just think right now it's too late in the window to sign him because it's going to cost a lot. It's going to be a really expensive buy anyway. So I'm not too crazy about thinking about him too much. If it happens, it happens. But I don't think it will happen anyway. So what do you think about this starting lineup and what is yours? Who would you replace? Who would you be taking out of this team? And if you're just joining the show, joining the stream, now, what do you think about the news items we talked about? Tyrique George possibly leaving. Would you want to cash him on him, or you want him to stay at the club, or you prefer he leaves but on loan? What do you think about Xavi Simons from the Chelsea? Where do you think is his best role at the club? Where does he fit in, best? For me, I think it's a 10. People have different opinions. I don't know the opinion. So Hafiz says Sanchez, Fofana, Colwill, Cucurella, Gusto, James, Caicedo, Enzo, Palmer, Pedro, Xavi, 4-2-3-1. So yeah. So from what that means, you want to play James and Caicedo as the 2 6s, and then you have Enzo, Palmer, and Xavi playing as 3 sort of 10s behind the fullback, behind the striker in João Pedro. Well, that's an interesting one as well. It's interesting formation as well. I just think that means that Cucurella would have to be flying on that left hand side, or else you're going to seriously lack width. So with this formation, maybe Cucurella flies down the flanks and Malo Gusto flies down the right hand side. Then this could very well work. But then again, I think Enzo, is he the most mobile? Because Palmer will be mobile. Xavi, of course, will be super mobile. But Enzo Fernandez, would he be super mobile in that 3-10 role? Because he needs to be mobile. So let's see. So that looks like an interesting one as well. I think that also would work so far as you have your fullbacks really, pushing it and and overlapping. So yeah. So that's it. So Emirates opinion, Xavi Simons, Tyrique George. Let me know what you think about it. And then let's just ask a general question. Now, do you think it's important to have academy players in and around the first team, or you don't really care? It's just more of get players who are ready to go now into the team, and more so, what sort of players are allowed to block academy players' pathway? Now, for me, I always like academy players to progress through the ranks, and I feel like if an academy player is going, if his pathway is going to be blocked or something like that, the person doing that blocking must be, an absolute ready to go now player as well. The player mustn't be developmental. Now, when I say absolutely ready to go now player, it's not 18 about age. You could have a 19-year-old absolutely ready to go with goals and assists, mature heads on young shoulders. So that's fine with me. But if you're going to sign a player that you're going to have to, take some time to coach, to make sure you get his character right, to make sure, he comes good in 12 months, 24 months, then I don't see the need. Especially when you have a player that's of a similar level. I see. Now, fine, I get this point of fighting if they want to stay and fight. I get that point. Stay and fight. But let me ask you this. Let's say you're a boxer, right? You're a boxer, ready for a bout, you step into the ring, but then you have one of your hands tied behind you, whilst the other boxer has his two hands free. Now, if you insist that your hand be loosened or you leave, and they refuse to loosen your hand and you leave, would that mean you're a coward? Would that mean you didn't want to fight? Because it's easy for us fans, I feel sometimes, to say, respect your opinion, Hafiz. I think you made a fair point. They have to show the willingness to fight. Nothing is indeed handed to you in football or in life. But sometimes we as fans, we make this mistake where we say things like stay and fight. But how many people are you going to fight through? If for me, if it was just we've signed Gittins and then Tyrique George said, oh no, I want to leave, then that would have been a problem for me. Then I say, if you can fight with Tyrique George, if you can fight with Bino Gittins, then if you can battle for your spot with Bino Gittins, then how can you? Then you should leave, right? But you were there, and then you have Gittins, then the Garnacho sits on your head as well, and Nico Jackson could be someone that Mareka could be looking at. When I say Nico Jackson playing out wide, people act like I'm talking about, a dancing chihuahua. But we all know Enzo Maresca can always tweak things and tell you from day one, I've always seen Nico Jackson as a winger. And then a lot of people will jump behind the bandwagon to support. Now, Trevor did though. Fair play. But let's look at it closely. Let's look at this Trevor fought for his spot. Trevor Chalobah was sent out on loan. And the plan wasn't for Chalobah to come back. He came back, he showed some promise, and the plan still is, if some offers come, he would be sold. He's done well in the Club World Cup. I think if the last 3 games or so of the competition, he's done well. Give him credit for that. And who has he had to fight to? Let's get the fighting thing. Okay, we've got Colwill already started in there. Disasi and Bajashil, the coach has already taken them off the board, especially Disasi is already off the board, so one less person to fight with. And Tosin, you can see from the way Tosin is used, it's not even used as like a starter, someone that I would start, because I would start Tosin and Colwill, because I think they're the best central defenders right now at the club as we speak. So if you want someone to fight, I think you need to give the person some leeway, some evidence that if I put up a fight, that if I put on a fight, I'm going to actually have a chance of actually fighting. I'm not fighting with the crowd. Okay, there are 2 wingers I'm competing with. There's 1 striker I'm competing with. So fair play on that one. You must have the will to fight. You don't come in and the spot is handed to you, for sure. I agree with that in that regard. But When it now seems like you're not fighting against one person, two persons, it's now three, four, then for me, I think right now the solution for Tyrique George would be on loan. No buy option, no obligation to buy whatsoever. Just go out on loan, um, split his wages, which at this point I don't think is that much anyway, because he's just on his first professional contract. So that's most times those contracts are really on the low side in footballing terms. So for me, I think that should be the solution. Maybe as a make way to go to get Xavi Simons in. Maybe I keep saying this that the person we're putting ahead of him, is he really fantastic? Has he really blown the top? Like, has he really dominated the Let's get this right. At Manchester United that finished 15th, Garnacho wasn't a regular starter. Let's understand this. This is not, oh, don't sign a player from a rival. No. Give me Erling Haaland from Manchester City. I'm going to take him. So it's not the question of don't sign a player from a rival. At Manchester United, that finished 15th, 1-5 in the league table, he wasn't a starter. He wasn't a regular. It wasn't because of injuries or it was beset with a lot of injuries, so he had to be on the bench. No. He was fit and ready to go. But he wasn't a starter. He wasn't starting games and therefore wasn't contributing that much, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's what I think about that. So, overall, young player thing, definitely your spot isn't handed to you. You have to fight, but the fight shouldn't be made way too difficult for you. That's just the way. That's just the way I see it. So, Nicholas Jackson, do you even think Nicholas Jackson will stay? Because right now we've got him, we've got Delap, so that's three strikers. Nicholas Jackson really would he want to be the third wheel, the third striker? I see him as a winger. I prefer him as a winger because I think he's got all it takes to be a world class winger if he applies himself. He's got speed, skill, technique, dribbling. But when it comes to that number 9 role, I think he is not good. I don't think he would ever be that outright top level, prime level number 9 striker. I don't think he will be world class as a number 9. That's just my opinion. He may come up and prove me wrong, fair play, but at this point in time, no. And then are we all happy, confident with Robert Sanchez as the starting goalkeeper for the season? Yeah. And a lot of us win the Club World Cup and we're like, yeah, Robert Sanchez, fantastic goalkeeper. I'm not quite sure about that. I'm not quite sure about Robert Sanchez being that guy, for Chelsea. And that's one of the reasons I look at Chelsea and say, I want to say we're going to compete for a league title, the Club World Cup, the performance in that Club World Cup. But when I look at Robert Sanchez, I say, come on, even on a day where he's playing out of his skin, he's always capable of some dumb moments. Always. In the Club World Cup, if you remember, there was a time he almost threw the ball into the net. And that was a game where he performed out of his skin. So when you look at Sanchez, just say, not quite sure he can actually, help be the one to push Chelsea to win the league title. Especially, there's one thing we have to take note as well. In that PSG game, everyone had to be on their game. Everyone had to be 100% focused because everyone and his dog knew how dangerous PSG were and still are. So, on the game, fully concentrated. But how about in games you're playing against a Brentford that you expect that you're going to win? Is Sanchez going to be that guy that's going to be 100% fully focused and fully concentrated? Now, don't get me wrong. When I talk about players, I don't have any agenda about any player. So if he comes up and performs in the first 5-6 games, I will tell you he's performed very well in his first 5-6 games. I'm not going to say, no. If a player performs well, I will say they perform well. I don't have any agenda about any player. I'm not an agent for any player. So I just want you to be when you're on the pitch, you play well for Chelsea and play to the best of your ability and be good. So for me, Sanchez right now being handed the keys to that goalpost again. mm, let's face it, Philip Jorgensen is not a competition. It's not. Competition is someone that maybe if he plays in the FA Cup game, he makes Enzo Maresca scratch his beard. Because, maybe this guy can bench Sanchez. Well, Philip Jorgensen isn't that. We know that. We've seen him in games where he's done so well with the ball at his feet, and you wonder, shouldn't this guy be a six? And then you see the weakest of shot in his direction, and he's throwing them into the net. So there's no competition for Sanchez. Yes, we've got a body. If Philip Jorgensen there, he's a body that you can just bring on if you need to. If someone is red card or yellow card or injured, you bring someone on. Yeah, but is he actually someone that can just come in and boom, actually compete? No, I don't think so. For me, I think this may sound a bit too harsh. This may sound like um, I don't really rate Philip Jorgensen. Maybe I don't, but I think it would have been better to have Mike Penders as the number two guy. But I do see the benefit of sending him out on loan because going out on loan to Strasbourg, he gets to play in all their games. He gets to play in the Conference League, so he gets to play first team football regularly, back to back to back to back to back, as opposed to having to choose his moments. Yeah, and hopefully, I just hope and pray that he comes back next season as Chelsea's number one goalkeeper. And then as well, I want to talk about one other player as well that may mean Nicholas Jackson has to leave nonetheless. Emmanuel Mega. I want to talk about him because what I want to talk about this player is when he was first signed from Stormgrass, I felt like it was one of those young players, clearly Buco signing to join Chelsea and grow the likes of Palmer and the likes. And then it turned out he was signed actually for Strasbourg. And now they signed at least they're working on signing a contract agreement with him to bring him into the team, next season. So he becomes part of the team in 2025, 2026 to 27 season. And that just makes things feel a bit strange for me because if you're Liam Delap and you're hearing that, you're beginning to wonder like, how, what am I doing here? Because he is 6'5", he's got the physical profile to be that 9, so are you thinking 3 strikers, 4 strikers? So that means I think Nicholas Jackson would have to then obviously leave. Maybe that's what they're looking at. Maybe they're actually looking at selling Nicholas Jackson. Because if you're looking to have 3 strikers at the most, then you're not going to be thinking of signing an Omega that is someone that's ready to go now. So maybe Nicholas Jackson actually gets sold because from a Nicholas Jackson point of view, you don't want to be a 4th striker. Being 3rd striker is a problem already. And we also got McGee going out on loan to Sunderland. And for McGee, I hope he gets to play. I hope McGee gets to play at Sunderland. He had some talk about Sunderland wanting to sign Lewis Openda. Some other people have come up to say no, that Sunderland are not looking to sign him. And for me, the way I say it is some clubs, they just take players on loan. I don't know if they want to show their careers. We saw it with Tammy Abraham. We saw it with Andre Santos. Took Andre Santos on loan by Nottingham Forest, took him on loan and never played him, which is just crazy to me. Took him and never played him. I don't think he even played 10 minutes and then he had to come back to Chelsea and go back on loan. Got on loan to Strasbourg, performed very well there. And he's another player I don't want sold because I think, was it last week or earlier on this week, had talk about Inter Milan being interested in Andre Santos. So for me, I think that is an issue, right? I think that is an issue. If you let Andre Santos go, because for me, I think Andre Santos, he has some of the best qualities of Caicedo and a lot of the best qualities of Enzo Fernandez. So I think he's the best of both worlds. So I think he's not a player that you want to actually lose, in my humble opinion. So let me get those opinions on all the latest transfer news, transfer topics that we've been talking about. Gerald Hato, where do you see him playing? Do you see him actually playing that left back role, or he could be used as a 10? I'm sorry, as a 10. He could be used as a left-sided centre back, because he could very well end up being where he plays. but will end up being where he plays. But I rather prefer him being played in his normal position. So that's it. That's it. So some opinions on what we've talked about. So if you're new to the channel, you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the Up Chelsea TV channel. So going into the new season, I'll be having post-match reactions to each game that Chelsea play, and pre-match sort of preview and game prediction. And as well, we'd like to have a panel discussion. Chelsea fans after the match all come on here and have a discussion on here. You can join the panel. If you want to be part of the panel, let me know, drop in the chat, and then I'll get in touch with you and we'll see how we can work that out as well. So at this point, we've come to the end of this live stream. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your support so far, for all who've subscribed, who've liked the video, and who've shared this as well. Thank you so much. I'll see you on yet another video. Stay well, stay blessed. Bye-bye.